everybody. I appreciate everyone being here. We've kind of made a decision to bring people back together because there's some very important information that Dr. Huff and others will be sharing some context with you. But I just wanted to thank you all so much. My name is Chris Craig. I'm Deputy Provost, and I have the great pleasure to be able to work with Dean Huff and other leaders within college education and others to work in teacher preparation, educator preparation. So it's always a pleasure to me to reconnect with my home discipline. I did want to make just one announcement, to say a couple of things. We have recently made a hire, actually was formalized at the end of last spring, but I wanted to introduce Dr. Karen Engler. Karen, where are you?
I'm right.
There she is. She's right there. Karen. So anyway, Karen is our new director of secondary ed, and I'll be saying a couple things that might relate to importance for you to put a name with a face. But Karen, I'd like for us all to welcome you to our leadership team. Thank you so much for accepting. These guys are a great bunch of folks. So anyway, one of the things that we're going to try to do, you guys, is both James and Dean Huff will allude to, is that we are now in a window where it's incredibly important that all of us as a team have a clear idea of what kind of data we need to be collecting for our CAPE accreditation, and not only that, for our state and other initiatives that you'll be learning more about. We did meet our goal the last time that the CAPE, or then NCAPE team, came in to visit us back in October 2013. We did, thanks to you and all of your efforts in rising to the occasion, meet the standard for diversity. We still have some areas for improvement that the leadership team will be looking at and seeking your assistance in making sure that we address those. But it's because of your involvement that we stepped up and were able to meet that standard and to keep our accreditation. So I want to thank you guys for all that you do and appreciate that effort. So it's being very important that we all get our heads wrapped around the information that Dr. Huff and others would suggest that we need to focus on. The other thing that I wanted to say is that good communication is incredibly important. There's been about 3 instances in the last semester where there were situations associated with student teaching, 2 of which I thought were resolved fairly well because of good communication. You know, you guys are our eyes and ears out there with the schools. You kind of keep the temperature of how are we doing in terms of our relationships with the various schools out there in our placements. And so I know that people worry about FERPA, they worry about privacy and those kinds of things, as well you should. But please know that if you're out there and you see behaviors or perspectives from our colleagues in K-12 and the placements from cooperating teachers, principals, and so on, as a need-to-know basis, I'm not going to establish any other protocol here. You all have people that you know you should go to share any concerns or information about the students that you're working with. Ultimately, though, whatever the status is, we've been able to resolve these issues when Tim Dupree's office knows what's going on. We've really done a very good job in a couple of issues that have impacted secondary ed recently, intervening, meeting with people, resolving concerns, and getting to the bottom of things. It's when we don't have that communication and it doesn't loop back to the right people on campus where problems occur. So I just wanted to throw that out. I know people are worried about privacy, and you guys all have great hearts, and you all want to do the right thing on behalf of the students. But if things come up, please go back to your program coordinator. I know you guys wear multiple hats, or whoever it is that you're supposed to report to. And in turn, you guys make sure Kim knows, okay? And then we'll get things done, and we'll be able to nip it in the bud if there's a problem. Nip it, okay? So I'm going to leave it with you. It's my pleasure. Is my buddy up next?
Am I your buddy?
Well, you're my buddy. So.
If I'm your buddy, I'm on next.
Hey, Kim's my buddy. Okay, so anyway, I'm going to pass this over to Kim. And guys, welcome, and thank you so much for all you do. This field thing is absolutely, our field experiences, is absolutely critical to us meeting our standards, CAPE standards, and thank you all so much.
Thank you, Dr. Craig. Dean Huff did have to leave. He's down. We know it's really hot, so she's working on that right now. She's on it. We do have one new person, so you'll see another name this coming semester. She starts next week. Her name's Amanda Bird. She's going to be another full-time assistant coordinator. So you'll see that name too coming up, but she hasn't started with us yet, so we'll welcome her. But right now we have Dr. Sotilli, and he's going to talk to you for a while about assessment. And then after that, we'll take a break, and then we'll have some more things to follow that. Dr. Sotilli, I need to tell him what. Dr. Sotilli is our assistant coordinator in the College of Education, and he's in charge of assessment. So he has some important things to say.
As Kim noted, my name is James Sotilli. I'm the associate dean. I work with David Huff, and then our other associate dean is Gilbert Brown. I took over the responsibilities for my responsibilities include the assessment, accreditation, data management, anything related to policies and procedures, along with the field placement. What else do you want to do? Field placement.
That's all we do. That's our biggest job, is field placement.
And I want to introduce my team here that I have. I will start off with Larry in the back. Larry, say hello. Larry's one of our technicians. And what's your official title? User, distributor?
Distributed User Support Specialist.
Thank you. We have Ron Kinney.
I'm the same thing.
Same thing.
It's a
We
mouthful.
have Amanda's a faculty member. And so she splits her time between assessment and also being a faculty member. And a lot of you probably have got tons of emails from Travis. Travis, ready? And what we have to do now is, Dr. Craig mentioned about accreditation. We are going through the CAPE accreditation. It's changed from NCAPE. And what takes place with the CAPE accreditation, it is all data driven. So it's a huge change. We have to use data to justify what takes place in order to pass the accreditation process. There are 5 standards, and within each of those standards, one of the big standards deals with what you all do. Partnerships and collaboration within the schools. But the more difficult process is we have to then ensure that we are able to monitor our students, and once they graduate, we have to show how they make an impact upon their students. If we don't do that, we do not get accredited. So now that whole change process is much different than what has typically occurred in the past. So that's why assessment is so important. You also know about the task stream. That's going to be our new process to collect data, and it is a very comprehensive system. I like the system a lot because we're able to track a lot of that information. The reason why you're also important is because we need that data in the system. The system that we were previously still using, we're phasing out the steps. We don't have a lot of data in there. So now the new push is to put all that data into task stream. And then as I first started, I think I was on the job doing this part for a couple of days, and Dr. Craig alluded to this as well. Communication is important. We had to deal with multiple student issues all at one time, and what I ask for you to do is keep in contact with Kim. If you think at all there's going to be an issue, please contact Kim. It's better for us to deal with it right up in the very beginning, and then if it turns to something that's more difficult, it makes more issues more difficulties for us. So I please ask you to ensure that takes place. And in my notes here, for the cooperating teachers and supervisors, there's a 4-week, 8-week, and 12-week review that takes place with the students. Please ensure that you engage in that process. And if all during that period of time, if you notice something that is atypical with the student or something isn't going well, please let Kim know. Kim will then engage the team, which I'm part of, and then we'll help resolve that. Our role is to help you have an easier job. When I took on being an administrator, I see administrator's role is making your job easier. My job is to make faculty's job easier. Sometimes it's a lot of work in the beginning, but in the long term, it is going to be easier, especially when we look at the issue with task stream, because then a lot of you are going to be writing extensive reports because we have all that data in one place. So thank you very much, and Travis. Ready? Travis, you're up next.
I'll get my mic on here. Maybe I should have had this on a few minutes ago. I didn't know it was going to be this complicated. pretty tech savvy.
Praise the Lord.
Well, thanks for your applause earlier. Most of you know me, I guess. We'll see what kind of response I get next semester after this one's over. So as Dr. Sotillo, well, first of all, my name is Travis Marler, for those of you who don't know me, and I'm the coordinator of assessment systems for the EPP here. As Dr. Sotillo mentioned, we are transitioning into a new assessment system called TaskStream. It will be replacing STEPS. STEPS is hanging around for a couple semesters. Probably a few of you even used it last spring. TaskStream, that is. By the way, is my mic being picked up back there? Okay, awesome. So about 50% of our students are still in STEPS, and the other 50% are in TaskStream. So some of you who have multiple student teachers, you may actually be working in two different systems. Thankfully, that's only going to happen for a couple semesters, because then we're phasing out STEPS, so that's the good news. The first question on your mind is probably if I have multiple students and some are in STEPS and some are in TaskStream, how am I going to know which students are in which? Well, I'm planning on sending an email to all of the supervisors next week, and it's basically going to have two documents in it, and one is going to be students enrolled in TaskStream, and the other is going to be students enrolled in STEPS, so you can easily look up your students and figure out which system you need to be working in. So a little bit about TaskStream. It functions differently than STEPS. STEPS is course-based, while TaskStream is program-based. So when you do log into TaskStream, you won't actually see a list of students like associated with a course or anything like that. The way TaskStream works in general is we enroll the students, then we enroll the supervisors, and there's no connection between the two. But students have to initiate the process for a particular assessment. They'll do an assessment, they'll send it to you, and that will establish that link between both of you. So you won't see your students until the student teachers have actually initiated the process. That is, in a nutshell, how TaskStream works. So let me show you how to log into TaskStream. Then we will go ahead and log in. I'll show you how students do work in TaskStream, and then how an evaluator, you guys, do it also. For any of you who actually have MSU M numbers, you're actually going to log into My Missouri State. Oops. There we go. And once you've logged into My Missouri State, you'll click on the Teaching and Advising tab. And then over on the right-hand side, you scroll down a little bit, you'll see this TaskStream heading and this My TaskStream link. And you just click that link. And so my account is expired, but for you guys, it'll take you right into TaskStream. You don't need any extra credentials. There are some of you, though, who don't have MSU M numbers, and in order for you to log into TaskStream, a welcome email should have been sent to you from TaskStream this morning with a link in it to create a password. And basically, you follow the link in the email, you go and set up a password, and then in order to log into TaskStream, you'll just go to the TaskStream login screen each time, which is login.taskstream.com. And then you would type in your email address as your username, whatever password you created, and that's how you sign in. Any questions about that? All right. So now, I think I'm going to log in as a student here. We'll log into Boomer Bear's account. I'm going to show you what TaskStream looks like on the student side. So when the student logs in, they're actually going to see one box here. It'll be whatever program they're enrolled in. It just so happens that Boomer is enrolled in quite a few programs because we use him to demo to programs all across the university. But today, I'm going to use the elementary ed template. So let's say the student logs in, they see their one program box, they click on the title, which brings them to their template. And the template is on the left-hand side. It's a list of requirements that span the entire length of their program from beginning to end. The items with a green circle and a white exclamation mark, when the student sees that, they know that's something they don't have to worry about because we are actually importing that data into TaskStream. That includes things like GPAs, test scores, etc. But then if they scroll down a little bit farther, they'll get to this icon. These are items that they actually have to engage with. Since you guys are student teachers, I'm going to fast forward a little bit down to transition point 3. That's our student teaching transition point. And here are all of the things required for student teaching. I shouldn't say all the things. Might be a little misleading, but yeah, all the things that are in TaskStream related to student teaching. For those of you who've used steps before, a lot of these things will look familiar. There's a specialty addendum for the student, the cooperating teacher, and the supervisor. The diversity proficiencies, MOPTA Task 1, dispositions, etc. So I said earlier that the way TaskStream works is students initiate the process. So I'm just going to have Boomer do some items here real quick. Let's take the specialty addendum. So when the student clicks on that, they've got some directions here on how to complete it. And a complete form button over here. We'll click complete form.
There's no way we can get in to see that until a student does this.
To see the actual form that hasn't been completed, there is, actually. I can show you that.
Okay.
Yep. So as a student, rate yourself here. Okay, I hit the save and return button, which takes me back to this screen, and now I see this submit work button. And this is the clincher. This is what the student has to do in order to keep this process rolling. They hit submit work. It brings up a list of possible evaluators. Your name will be in this list. They need to select your name. In this case, we'll submit it to Betty Bear and submit for evaluation. All right, and now that jumped us over to the scores and results tab. Yeah.
What happens if your name is not presently in that list?
Then I need to know about it.
Okay.
Yep. That does happen sometimes. Also, there's a lot of people to keep track of. A lot of people to get in the right location. All right, so on this scores and results tab, we can see here the student's specialty addendum that I just completed. It's noted that it's been submitted. It has a date and timestamp when it was submitted, as well as the person it was submitted to. As long as you as the evaluator haven't begun evaluating it, the student can actually cancel the submission and redo it for whatever reason they made a mistake, or whatever. That said, let's do a couple others. So that was a form that the student completes. Let's look at the specialty addendum for the cooperator, no, let's look at the one for you guys. So this is the specialty addendum that you guys complete on the student at the end of the placement. As the student, I'm going to hit edit work, and then I'm going to complete the form. And look what the form is. All it is a single checkbox that says, please evaluate me. Click the checkbox, save and return, and the student's going to submit to you once again. And as soon as they do that, that establishes the link between you and the student, and you can see the work. In this case, it would be the rubric, the specialty addendum rubric. So that's the form type. Let me show you an upload type real quick. Create a document to upload. We'll say this is MOPTA Task 1. Okay, here's Task 1, edit work. And now at the bottom we have this attachments button. So the student will click on attachments and the upload from the computer button. And from then it's pretty straightforward. Add the file. Save and return, and of course, submit to you. his submission again. There we go. And that's all it is. That's all there is to it for the student to upload. It's actually a really simple process. And then, do we need to do one more? Yeah, let's look at the summative assessment. That's a really important one. Again, this is something the cooperating teacher and the supervisor will complete. So all the student has to do is click that checkbox and send it to you.
They know to do that, Travis, or we're telling them?
They know, actually, yeah, that's a good point. They know how to do this part, or they should know how to do this part. We've been drilling this into them for a couple semesters. So.
But they know to send it to us so we can activate it.
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
And if for some reason they don't know, just give them a little reminder. They need to submit that to you.
Would we get an email when we have something, or how does that work? We just need to regularly check to know if it's been sent to us, or we'll get an email saying, hey, get in there and look at blah, 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 or what?
Right. I believe I have, I'll have to double check. I believe I have the email notifications turned off because many of the faculty members would receive tons and tons and tons and tons of notifications. So you will have to coordinate with your student teacher, I believe. Yeah. They may have to let you know when they submit it.
So they need to directly email us that.
Yeah. That's what I would advise.
Travis, my concern is since we're kind of in between steps in that task three, I don't know that we'll be, all of them will know actually where they're at, which one they're in.
Oh, the students?
Yeah, that's my concern.
Well, I could send an email to the group that are in task stream and remind them that they're in task stream, and to the group that's in steps and remind them. They really should know, but yeah, I can. What's that? Yeah. So the students that are in task stream for student teaching, they actually started their teacher education program in task stream. So it's not like they started in steps and then along the way they got swapped.
Right, I think the only way they may know though is because they had to pay for that, right?
Okay. So I think that's good enough on Boomer's side. I'm going to log out. Have I not submitted?
Travis, do we know if our kids are in task stream or if they're still in steps?
I'm sorry?
Yes, do we know?
What'd you say?
Do we know what our kids are doing? Like if they're in task
You
stream
will.
or steps?
Yeah, next week I'm going to send 2 lists out to all
Okay,
of
sorry, I
you.
missed that.
Yeah, that's okay.
Well, I think your question really isn't if they're task stream or steps. You really want to know what they have to do. Am I right? When they have to do what? Because that was a concern last year. And same with cooperating teachers. When they needed to do what? Because we weren't getting the emails they were getting. So I couldn't even encourage my cooperating teachers to do such and such. I didn't know what emails they were receiving.
I have good news for you.
Good.
I'm actually preparing assessment timelines right now for each one of the programs.
Okay.
So in the past, maybe several semesters ago, I actually emailed all the supervisors and the cooperating teachers and the students whenever each individual item was done. Since then, some things have changed on our side. The programs are more diverse as far as when things are due. There's even some variation in what is due. It's a little beyond my scope to be able to be as specific as I used to be in the past. As far as like sending out emails to everyone, because I'd be sending out, email about this assessment to this program and this assessment to another program for the students. But oh wait, there's a different date for the CTs. And then send out that email. It gets really complicated. So instead, I've been preparing these assessment timelines. This is elementary education, so this is an example, and they are still being fine-tuned a little bit. But as you can see, there's 3 columns here: student, cooperating teacher, and supervisor. Here are all of the relevant assessments, and a note about when these are due. So hopefully this will help you guys in planning your semester. This is also going to go to the students and the cooperating teachers. What's that?
When will we receive it?
Probably next week.
Before by Monday?
I can't guarantee by Monday. Do you need it by Monday?
Yeah.
Okay.
For my program, they will receive it by Monday because I already have it. We have it.
But that's it.
Yes, you do. Thank you.
You guys were all dangerous.
Right there.
For example, I'm doing some investigation in the MOPTA Task 1 right now. Right now, there's just a note that says check with the program supervisor. I would like to refine that a little bit, get a little more specific than that if I can. So I'm looking into that. But I will do my best I'll do my best to get them to you Monday morning.
That'd be awesome.
Okay.
No pressure, and I know you have nothing else to do. Thank you, Brad.
Uh-huh. So now I'm going to log in as our resident supervisor or faculty member, whatever you need her to do, really. Betty Bear. Okay, so this is you guys. So either you've gone through My Missouri State and followed that My TaskStream link and it puts you here, or you've gone to the login.taskstream.com website and signed in and it directs you here. When you log in, you will either see one program if all your student teachers are in that program, so you'd either see one box, or if you have students in multiple programs, you'll see a box for each one of the programs. We were working in elementary ed. Okay, here we go. Elementary ed. Here's our example. Let's say you only have students in elementary ed. So you log in, you're only going to see this box right here. And you'll note that this evaluation required link has a blue flag next to it. That indicates that students have submitted something to you and there's work to be done. So I'm going to click on that link, which takes you to this grid. Here it lists the student's name, the requirement, that's the assessment they submitted. So there's the specialty addendum the student did, and then there's the specialty addendum for you to do. And I just clicked on the evaluate button by each one of these. In the case of the specialty addendum from the student, I'll click this green evaluate scorework button. I can hit open below to see what the student, how the student rated themselves. And then over on this side, this is actually where you do the work. In this case, it's just a meets or does not meet requirement. So we'll say the student meets the requirement. Down below, there's actually 3 options to finalize this. You can send it back for revision. You can report it as final, but release it to the author later. Or the option that most people use, most faculty members, is report as final and release evaluation to the author now. I'm going to choose that one. This box is automatically checked, send the external email notification so the student sees when you actually evaluated. And then you click this Submit Evaluation Now button, and you're done. And you'll notice that that particular item drops from the list, so your list gets shorter as you do these. So let's run through these others real quick. This is the Supervisor Specialty Addendum. Click the green button. Now, when I hit open below here, it'll just be that please evaluate me statement, because that was that checkbox the student selected. But on the right here is your specialty addendum rubric. There's a couple different ways to complete this. You can click on the box like that. And when you do that, the score changes here to reflect. Or you can actually just use the drop-down box. That's easier. I like clicking the big boxes. I don't know, it's more fun. So you go down through here, select the scores, and you also notice there's a comment section for each of the criteria in your rating. Completely optional, but it is there for you. And then once you complete it, get down to the bottom, report as final, and send it back to the author. That one's done. The MOPTA is another rubric, and I'm just going to breeze through it now that we've seen one. Oh, actually, there is one thing I want to point out on this one. Because this is a requirement that has students upload a document, you can see it right here. And you can open it. So that's how you would actually see the MOPTA Task 1. For this fall?
For spring, will they come in back to the desk and do, or
Oh. That's a good question. Students will always submit it directly to ETS. And they, the upload process in the task stream is separate from that.
So Travis, they won't submit it to steps at all this semester.
If they're in steps, they'll submit to steps.
And,
If they're in task stream, they'll submit it to task
oh,
stream.
okay, yeah, got it.
Yep.
All right.
the task one always online in ETS?
Yeah.
I didn't hear what that question was, so it may have been the same one. Can you repeat what that question was, Travis?
Dr. Abdigan was just asking if, when students submit their task one, if it needs to go to ETS, if it needs to be uploaded to ETS.
And and so the person who's evaluating is evaluating both on ETS and here.
Is Candace Fairbairn in here?
No.
Can you help us out?
When you upload to, when the student uploads to ETS, that tells ETS I can release test 2, 3, and 4. Now, there'll be a comment box that you can say, oh, you did a nice job on this task by doing this, this, and that. But you can or you don't have to. But the scoring goes into task 3. Because it's formative and it's within the university and college program.
Or steps.
Or steps.
So just to be clear, I'm hearing correctly, because that's not always the case, that we can ignore ETS and log for students that are in task stream our feedback and our scoring here.
The student has
Yes, that I
to-
understand, but in terms of our evaluation.
Yeah, you could, at least last year, you could ignore ETS, you don't have to comment, but
Right.
there's no scoring system.
Right, yeah, okay, thanks.
But the student always has
The
to upload.
student has to upload.
Do we,
Or ETS and
Right.
or step.
Right, for task one. And only task one.
Say it again, when they put it on ETS, you do not have to comment, but when they do it in the task stream,
You have to step. We have to, or step. Actually evaluate.
So for task one,
Just task. Just task.
Right.
So we're under no obligation to figure this into our grade if we happen to stick it in some grade.
The rest of the time, whenever you ask a question, whoever's up here is gonna repeat the question and repeat the answer, because the people that are getting the video that aren't here today need to hear all of that. So we'll start doing that. Whenever a question, we'll repeat the question and repeat the answer so the video can hear it.
What was your question?
Okay, I'll use my teacher voice now. So, even though we have to score it in task stream, we're not required to figure it into our course grade if we did not already decide to do that, correct?
Correct.
That's correct. Okay, our last item here. This is the summative assessment. It comes at the end of the placement. And this is a rubric. Yep.
When we pull up task one and we're evaluating, we still have this side by side, because when we pull it up, it
issue. Oh yeah. She asked, when we pull up task 1 to evaluate it, will it come up full screen or will it come up split screen with 2 halves? And generally it should be split screen.
Travis,
Uh-huh.
so what happens when we pull up task 1 and we evaluate it one way and ETS evaluates it another way?
So the question was, when supervisors evaluate or
So they make a comment on it.
so when evaluator, supervisor, or instructor of record evaluates task 1,
They're the only one.
oh,
Or
ETS
supervised-
does not evaluate.
evaluate it, it's only whatever the instructor puts up there.
Okay.
Okay, now your slate is clean.
I'm good. Oh, sorry.
If that sent back for revision, if we didn't complete the entire document, or how can you save to return some particular?
So the send back for revision option, that's really there if the student uploaded the wrong document or there was something incorrect about the form they completed. And so you would send it back for revision and then they would correct it and resubmit to you.
Okay, so how did we personally say what we've done so far and return to that same
Gotcha.
document later? What would you say? Because it looked like the other 2 options were, I'm finished.
Okay. So it was asked, basically, if you complete part of the rubric and want to come back to it later, how do you save it so you can come back to it later?
Yeah, that was easy to do in steps.
Right. Let me just have Boomer do one more and we'll set it up that way.
Okay, and while he does this, I'll say something really quickly. To save time also, any specific MOPTA questions, we'll save those till later because Candace is gonna talk about MOPTA. So this is just tax-free questions right now, that way Travis is not on the spot. So we'll save those till Candace comes up.
Okay, actually, here's a couple other things I want to throw at you. So far I've been using the screen evaluate button. It is possible to send it back to the author from here as well. If you notice immediately that they were trying to upload task 1 and they uploaded the wrong document or something, you don't even have to go into the evaluation. You can just send it back right here. Or if you start to do an evaluation and you get a phone call that takes an hour, you can go ahead and just hit cancel and it'll back out and you can come back to it. But in this scenario, we're clicking evaluate now. And we're going to do part of this. And then we got interrupted. So let's scroll down to the bottom. And there's a save draft button. And I'm actually going to cancel and not worry about it right now.
And so on, when we log in, is that little flag still blue or whatever, if you're finished anything else?
I think so.
Okay.
No, thanks, Kim. So the question was, if you save the draft and want to come back to it, will the blue flag still be there, noting there's work to be evaluated? And the answer is yeah. There it is. I want to show you guys kind of an advanced feature that will help you keep track of what the student teachers have in have it submitted to you. So when you log in, and let's say you've actually evaluated everything that's come to you. So this blue flag is actually white. But this time, if you click on the reports link beneath the title of the program, and then on the right-hand side, click on this evaluation grid tab. This is going to bring up a few different options. First of all, you can search for a student's name. I would recommend if you do this, if you're focused on a single student, just search for their last name only, because it has to be exact in TaskStream, which includes middle initials and all of that. Meaning, if you search for John Doe, but it's in here as John D. Doe, you're not going to find it. So instead, just search for Doe. It'll bring up all the students that have the last name Doe, and you can pick. But probably more often than not, the format that you'll be using is a little different. You want to be looking at transition point 3. And we're just going to leave these options set as they are. And what this does, it brings up a grid listing your students down the left-hand side and all of the assessments across the top on the right. So we can see here, the specialty addendum is the student completed and you said was met. You noted it was met, there it is. You did this specialty addendum. You can see with the red circle and white check mark, it's been done. All the way down through here. And not only that, but if you click on this View Edit link beneath the requirement, and then Evaluation History, you can see all of the events that have occurred related to that requirement. So we see that Boomer Bear did submit it at this date and time. Betty started the evaluation, evaluated it, and released it. Everything is noted. If you happen to send something back for revision, it'll be noted here. Any comments that you include when you send it back for revision, they'll be noted here. So it's a really, really powerful tool for just keeping track of where things stand with a student in regard to a requirement. The first semester that we implemented this, we actually got to use this and see how useful it was, because one of our faculty members came to me and said, a student says they submitted this thing to me, but I haven't seen it. Is there any way we can check up on that? So we just logged into his account, went to this evaluation history page, and sure enough, the student did submit it as they said. It just got overlooked by the faculty member. So in that case, it benefited the student. I'm going to log back into Boomer's account one more time real quick so that you can see this full circle. So Boomer has done his part, you have done your part, and now Boomer's going to look back into his template. He's going to click on that Scores and Results tab. And now, underneath this column, you can see that he met the requirement there. You can see the same scores and results that you can. It's all very transparent. I think I've been through everything that I was supposed to go through this afternoon. Yeah. So do you guys have any questions? I know that was very fast. I will be sending a PDF guide to TaskStream to you. So that'll be helpful. And as always, if you have any questions at all, please email me or call me. I'm always glad to help. But do you guys have any questions right now?
Walker will get an email from you, and you will help them get logged in too, right?
Yes. And in fact, so it was asked if the cooperating teachers would be notified by me and if I would help them get logged into TaskStream. Yeah, I will. I'm actually still setting up TaskStream and Steps. That will take another couple weeks probably. So it'll be a little while before I actually start getting in touch with them.
But they don't need it until we cooperating teachers. And if they need help, they can always ask us, we always send it to you, but still.
Sure.
And the cooperating teacher can help them with a little bit of knowledge, more knowledge than the cooperating teacher will have, so.
Yeah, I will definitely be helping the cooperating teachers get logged into both Pathstream and Steps because they're different. I will also be sending that calendar to them so that you, the students, and the cooperating teachers have the same calendar.
Travis, we've not set up on past accounts. Will you be letting us know how to do that as well?
Yeah. So if if a supervisor isn't set up on Pathstream yet, we'll be helping them get their account set up. And in fact, I believe I set up all of the supervisor accounts in Pathstream this morning. So for any of you who have the M number, you should be able to go ahead and go right into My Missouri State, click on that My Pathstream link, and get right in. For everyone else who doesn't have an M number, you should have received a welcome email from Pathstream this morning. But if you did receive an email, or you get lost or confused or whatever, just send me an email and let me know. I'll help you out. Yeah.
So if the program, if all of our programs that we're evaluating do not show up, when that student signs on and chooses us, then will it automatically show up on here? Like I have one student teacher in a program that isn't shown on my task screen.
Okay, so the question is, if a program doesn't show up for you and the student chooses you from a list, will it go ahead and show up for you or whatever?
Or maybe they're in steps.
Yeah, so in Pathstream, if you log in and see that there's a program missing, you have student teaching, say in Math Ed, and you don't have access to Math Ed, actually please email me because I will need to enroll you into that program so that the student can submit to you.
But I should probably wait for your list of steps and task stream.
Yeah.
Because it may be that she's just in steps.
That's very possible, yeah. All right.
Any other questions? Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Am I on? Okay. We are going to actually take a break. We are way ahead of time, which is wonderful. So we're going to take a break, just about 10 minutes. So 2:30 we'll come back in and we'll start back up. I've got some housekeeping things to cover, and Candace is going to cover the needs and the OPTA information. I just want to make it real clear right now, if you have any task string or steps questions, those go to Travis. Any MOPTA questions or needs questions, that goes to Candace. If you accidentally send it to the wrong person, we'll get it to the right person. But just so you know, that's how the questions go.
Kim, we have a couple of supervisors who do not use steps, or don't have to be using steps. Could Travis talk a bit about the process of getting login information and that?
Yes. Yes, the question was, he has some supervisors that are new and their students are in steps, so they haven't used it. So Travis is going to go over some information about steps quickly before we break.
Thanks, Tim. So I will actually be sending instructions out to the supervisors, all the supervisors, about how to log into steps and how to complete evaluations there. I know it's old hat for many of you, but probably new for a few also. So, within the next couple weeks, there will be instructions going.
I think they were just asking about logins and if they're going to get that information and when, so just.
Yep, within a couple weeks.
Okay.
Yep, it'll be all rolled into one.
Okay, go ahead and take a break. There's refreshments down here. The restrooms are right down the hall that way. And I have tried to work. However, we are not in time. It's on the schedule, so it's not going to happen. So go ahead and try to get back by 2:30.
So, if I'm understanding.
On the next on DESI requirements, there's not been a lot of changes this year for DESI. There's been updates, but not a lot of big changes. The MEES, you guys have all had the MEES training. If you're new supervisors, you went to that one time last year or this year. you all attended. Desi has created a video version for cooperating teachers, and I have sent that to all the cooperating teachers. So they've all received a link with a video of me training for them as well. And then obviously, you all know about OPTA, a new assessment. Every student teacher will be completing the OPTA. I do have one quick thing I was going to say earlier, and I forgot about it. Travis mentioned that for fall, about half of the student teachers are in task streams, and about half are in steps. We've looked at our preliminary applications for spring, and about 76% are in task stream, and 25% will still be in steps. So we're hoping for fall 17, almost all students will be in task stream. So just a few more semesters of transition working in those systems. Shouldn't be too difficult. We do want to encourage everyone. You'll be doing the exact same work, whether if you have students that are in one or in, if you have students that are in, what am I trying to say? If you have students, some in steps, some in task stream, you'll be doing the exact same work. It's just entering it differently into a different system. It's not different work for the different system. So that's good. The next thing I want to talk about really quickly is communication. Can you tell me something? Oh, okay. Communication. It's very important. I know Dr. Sotilli mentioned it. I know Dr. Craig mentioned it. I'm going to mention it again. If anything happens anytime throughout the semester that's any kind of concern that you think is important, and we trust you guys, that's what you guys do, you're the experts, you're out there with the students. If there's any issues, we highly encourage you to notify the program that student is in, the program coordinator. If you don't know who that is, contact me, and I'll make sure I get you to the right person. But actually the best way to do it is if there's an issue, if you call on the phone, call the program coordinator, or call me and find out who that is. If you send an email, just copy both of us. And that way, everybody's aware of everything that's going on, and we can resolve it quickly. So if you have any issues, we highly suggest you go to the program, because they're the ones who know the students and will know what to do first. But we do want to help you get it taken care of. The other thing is, once you meet your students for the first time this week, next week, whenever you go to the classroom for your first time, if there is anything wrong with the cooperating teacher, if they've changed, if their address is wrong, email address, sorry, if we gave you an incorrect email address, or the student has changed cooperating teachers, please let us know that. We have to know who to pay, number one, and Travis has to know who to enroll in steps or task stream to evaluate the student. So we have to know that information. We have to have those students with the right person. Let me ask you another quick question. I had 2 people tell me that they did not get I sent all the supervisors a list of their students and their placement information. Did anybody that hasn't talked to me already not get that?
I got it, but it was not complete. It only had secondary placement and did not have contact information for the elementary placement.
Okay, we might not have had it at that time. So if anybody didn't get that information, see me afterwards, and I'll get your name so I can send you that complete information. Okay? So if you don't have a list of your students, where they're placed, the cooperating teacher, the cooperating teacher's email, let me know and I'll resend that to you. Okay? All right, I'm going to have John come up since he's up here. There he is. And he's going to talk, we're going to go back to the first page, and he's going to talk to you briefly about the student teaching handbook and the student teaching handbook.
Testing. Testing. Louder, louder. All right. Okay, I'm just going to talk to you just a little bit about the student teaching handbook. We meet with a committee of people from various content areas, and we go over the handbook every year. That's usually in March and April when we start that process, and then we make changes accordingly. But you need to understand the student teaching handbook is a live document, because I changed it just this morning. And if there are any major policy changes, we will certainly let you know. Most of the things that we are notified about are just things that we can fix very quickly and get that published once again. And so I will take you to that. On the top of your sheet that was given you, we highly encourage you to use Internet Explorer when possible. If not, Google Chrome. Safari does not necessarily work well, and some other browsers. Excuse me. But get to Internet Explorer here. We'll show you how to get there. And our web address is at the top of your sheet, so we don't expect you to memorize that and take that with you. But if you start at the home page here and you go to the alphabet at the top, we are E, Educational Field Experiences. And this page has more information on it than you would ever care to read in your lifetime. But it is our Bible. And so if you scroll, and this is what I've been working on here with students, clearance documents. I'm also the collector of those, TB test, insurance, 2 different types of background checks, and so that keeps me very busy. And there's a supervisor section right there, cooperating teachers, and then here are all of your resources. And so the student teaching handbook is here, and you don't want to restart right now. It's telling you right here, the Acrobat, what's that?
Good example.
Yes, the Acrobat DC PDF, thank you very much. Browser plugin is missing, and that's why a lot of, we don't have a lot of you, but we've had several people email us, we cannot get the forms open, we can't get the forms open. You must have Acrobat DC on your computer. And so if you do not, it will make your life a whole lot easier if you will just download that. It is free, it does not cost you anything, just a few minutes of time to get that onto your computer. And so we're going to say okay here. Let's say we want to open it. And here it is, right here. And it is PDF, and you can see that at 8:33 this morning, I updated this handbook. And I republished it. And it was a minor change that we were doing, but it was one of you that, actually there were 2 of you that pointed out some things that didn't quite jive, and so we have corrected those. And do not hesitate to contact me if you see something that needs to be changed, and I will get it done just as soon as possible. So any questions about the student teaching handbook?
What did you correct? Yes.
What did I correct this morning? I made corrections on page 20 and 21. There, at the top of page 20, we said that you would be the student. I think the teacher candidate has to submit 4 documents, 4 categories of things, and one of them had to do with the timesheets. No changes there. But when we got down to 3 and 4, there was no 3 and 4. And so it was 1, 2 again. So it went 1, 2, 1, 2. And so now it does say 1, 2, 3, 4, and so it does make sense. And I think that's the only one I made today. So any other questions? Yes, and if there are major changes, we will certainly let you know. Any kind of major change in policy, we will certainly let you know. Okay? All right, I'm going to close the handbook here. And then the other thing I'm going to talk to you about today, one of the reasons the handbook has gone from 110 pages down to 50-something is because between Kim and I and Julie, we have worked on these student teaching forms to put them in a fillable form and to make them easily accessible to you and our students, because they are driven by technology and not by paper. And so Kim and I revisited this section yesterday at the top of this sheet. And again, we are reminding you right here Adobe Acrobat Reader, and I'm gonna click on it to see where it takes you. And so, this is just a Missouri State site that says you need Adobe Reader basically for anything you're going to access on the Missouri State site. And download Acrobat Reader right here, and it takes you to the Acrobat Reader DC. And you notice it's saying that this computer has Windows 8.1. It will already know what computer you have, all right? Because we tested this on my computer, which has Windows 7. And so there is your free download. If you don't want to install Google Chrome or make Chrome the default browser or install the Google toolbar, be sure to uncheck those before you start the download. Believe me, we have all learned from experience. So I'm going to back out of this. Again, Internet Explorer is the preferred browser. I know a lot of times when you see this information at the top of pages, we just zip past it and move on to what we want to see, but this really is important information here. If you use Google Chrome, your Google PDF viewer will override your Adobe. And so you have to basically enable that particular browser. That's why we suggest that you use Internet Explorer to do that. And again, I have filled in my lifetime a couple of forms that I didn't save before I started filling in all the information. And guess what? When you get it all filled, it won't save it for you. And so you need to save the empty form to your desktop is where we suggest. And then you can move it wherever you would like to store it, but do save those forms first. And we have gone through the steps to do that. Okay, there's the teacher candidate section, cooperating teacher section, and the supervisor section right here. And I will just open a couple of these forms. You can see at the top that this particular, and actually this is a form that I revised this week as well. Because it still said calendar right here, and it took you to a page that doesn't even exist anymore. And so those are things that, even though they were correct last year, they are not correct this year, and they are often overlooked because we're not the ones who use this. You are the ones who use this. So that's why we need you to point that out to us. And so I did make a couple of changes there. But notice that this particular form is attached to us. And so it comes right from our office, right from our servers. And some of these forms you're going to use, the teacher candidate formative assessment. Notice that this is attached to DESE. And this is the first time I've done that. This is the first year I've done that. Because DESE is the one who changes these forms all of the time. And we are the last to be notified that there have been changes. I just connected it to the DESE website, so the correct form should come up every time that even any changes are made. And I think if we scroll down on this form, what's it asking me to do? This one was revised April 2016, and that is the newest one that DESE offers to us.
So John, just a question on those formatives and summatives. It's going directly to DESE, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then, so we have to duplicate our work and also put it in task stream.
I'm going to let you into that.
Okay. Just repeat the question. I don't know, Michael. Repeat the question. Sorry, hold on.
You're asking if you have to duplicate the information in task stream
Right,
as well?
same formative, summative, or formative evals, they're supposed to go in task stream. But they're also apparently going to DESE. But I was told in these training that the only thing that goes to DESE is summative.
No, they're not going to DESE.
Okay.
It's just that when you open that form, it accesses the DESE's website, so that you are receiving the most current information and the most current form from them. And so no, the information is not going to DESE.
Okay, so the next question is, since they're not fillable and savable, how do we get that form into task stream?
It's already in task stream. When the student clicks on the left, like Travis showed you, formative, and then goes in and does please evaluate me.
Okay.
When you go in to evaluate them, this form will come in and you just fill it out in task stream like Travis showed you.
finish.
This is just,
What? No, no.
this is just so on our website, it's just so you can look at it ahead of time, so you know what the form looks like.
Okay.
So you know what's gonna be coming up, what the evaluation's gonna look like, what you need to see, what you need to look for.
Okay.
That's all this one is for.
Thank
But
you.
we just link it to DESI, so the most current form DESI has is always on our website. Okay?
And I think some cooperating teachers use this form, and when their student teacher is doing a lesson, they will ask them, pick out a couple of sections that you would like me to evaluate you on today. And so that's one of the reasons this form is used for that purpose. And so the summary form is basically the same way it's connected to DESI. This is the newest rubric. It's called Rubric for the Teacher Candidate During the Clinical Experience. And this is a 21-page document. I think Candace is going to share a shorter version of this document. That is, this area at the top is missing from the sheets that she is going to show you as well. But it is the same document in a much more lengthy form. And again, you can see this form comes directly from the DESI website. There is the teacher candidate final grade form, and again, that's attached to our server. And most of these, they are forms that we've been using for several years, and they remain the same. So, I think that's it. Did you talk to them about the travel expense form? Okay. Any questions about any of the student teaching forms or the student teaching handbook?
Are there any new forms that are going to be used this year that weren't used last year?
Sure.
So it's not a new form, but we're asking students to complete a culminating practicum log based upon their placement this semester. This asks for their experiences with diversity, with technology. They have to put some check boxes related to diversity and type in some narrative about their experience in relation to public affairs. If you have a student teacher in task stream, they're going to complete that form and they're going to send it to you. You don't have to evaluate it. You can just mark it as met, yeah, I received it. That's basically what it is. If your student teacher is in steps, you don't actually have to worry about it at all because you really can't get at the form anyway.
Travis, for my university supervisors, you don't have to evaluate it, but just leave it alone, because our person who used to do the e-portfolio supervision is evaluating it, okay? So make sure you don't accidentally delete it.
Thank you.
Okay, good. Ms. Travis, what was it called again?
Yeah, within task stream, it's called culminating practicum log.
So does that mean that if they're in steps or if they're in steps, we can't see this information anymore?
If they're in steps, they actually complete it in ePortfolio.
Okay, so it's in the same little place.
Yeah.
Is there somewhere where there's a copy of that so that so they can know what they're gonna be?
Yeah. Actually, let me just show you how you can see all the forms in task stream.
But we as a supervisor have to say that it's met. We have to-
Unless you're history, it sounds like.
Well,
Well, you
history
still put
just,
your test.
we'll make sure that we have the right person for it to go to, okay? If you're history, we'll talk to Travis afterwards, okay?
Sounds good.
Okay.
And I'll try to explain something quickly while he's looking that up. This is not anything new. Like Travis said, students have always, before, entered this in their clinical log here on campus. They all know what that is. They put the building they were in, and then they answer the question about the diversity, technology, all of that. In task stream, now it's in there as a requirement. So to make sure the students do it, they will enter the same information, the building, their answers to the questions. Like Travis said, it's not something that has to be evaluated by you on how well they answered it, it's just did they do what they were supposed to, did they submit it? And in history, the reason we have it in task stream now is because that way we can, the people who need to see it can actually go in and use that for evaluation. So they'll be able to see what, and we'll have historic data, I guess, of where all of our student teachers were and what their experience was. We didn't keep that on student teachers before. A lot of times they didn't complete their clinical logs during student teaching unless their instructor or their supervisor required it. And so a lot of times on student teachers, we didn't have that information. We have all the practicums up to that, but not student teaching. So now we'll just have the information for student teachers as well. That's all that is.
And I just looked it up. So actually, it's called Culminating Student Teaching Log. Now, how you can see the form, when you log in, you'll see this screen with your programs and boxes. If you click on the title of the program, and then over here on the right-hand side, you'll see this link. It says DRF Setup Details. So I'll click that link. And this is basically the template structure. It shows the transition points down the left-hand side with all of the requirements beneath it. And then over here, the evaluation method. And this is whether like it's a rubric for you to complete, or it's met, not met, or whatever. So like if we scroll down to that culminating log, you can click this View Author Form link. And there's actually what the students see when they complete it. Cool.
Okay, so again, that's nothing new, except that now that the student teachers are doing it, they've done it all along in their practicums. It's just now we have the student teaching information. Okay, on our last page of what we gave you, Travis has already talked to you a little bit about steps and task stream. I just have his information there so that you can call him with all your questions about steps and task stream. The next thing I want to talk just a second about is the travel expense forms. Those have not changed at all. It's the same as it's always been. Let me see if I can pull this back up. Just a second. Okay, down here at the bottom, on where John was a while ago on educational field experiences, at the bottom there's the section supervisor travel expense form. The supervisors, please use that form. The reason I say that, the MSU also has a form, but this one already, there's instructions at the top, but this one already over here has the budget number that needs to be paid from. So nobody has to worry about what budget number needs to go in there. Our office, all supervisors, their travel expenses are paid through our office. So please, all supervisors, use that form for your travel expenses. The other thing that the dean has asked us to ask you is to please submit those every month, not at the end of the whole semester. Financial Services has actually asked that. They didn't like getting a huge stack at the end of the semester. So please try to submit that every month, and we'll get your payments out every month. Yes?
Do we still fill out that time sheet on the work area?
The question was, do you still fill out the time sheet? Time sheet, time log, whatever.
Through my Missouri State.
Yes. Now that's something that was new. I believe it was 2 semesters ago. All supervisors had to start submitting a time record or a time sheet through your My Missouri State. That is only, you're not paid by that at all. That is only to make sure the university was required us to do that so that they could verify that nobody worked over 30 hours on the average throughout the year because the insurance would have to be provided. So it's just to make sure that the supervisors, we aren't required to provide insurance for the supervisors. And none of our supervisors ever get close to that, but the university requires that we have you submit that so that they have a record of it. And so most of you know, if your department hired you as a supervisor, You know who to submit that to, but it's through your My Missouri State. A few of the supervisors submit that to our office. Our out of area, St. Louis, Kansas City supervisors submit that to our office. But most of the time, you don't. When you go in there and submit it, it goes to the right person. But that's all that's for.
Does that still have to be mailed?
Yes, that's another thing. The question was, does the travel expense form still have to be mailed? Every semester, I call financial services. One of these days, they're gonna give me a different answer. But I call them every semester and say, can we have that emailed to us if it's on their bear mail? Because then it's probably them doing it. And the money's gonna go to the right person because you have their M number, you have their address. But no, they have to have an original signature. So that one still has to be mailed for fall. I'll ask them again for spring. Well, I'll just keep trying. Maybe I'll get a different answer. Again, as I mentioned before, Carol Hamilton in our office, the administrative assistant, I put her name and email and I believe phone number, yes, on here. So you can contact her. If you have questions about the travel expense form or anything about the travel expense form, contact Carol. And she or I or somebody will get the right answer. Yes.
The mileage that we are reimbursed for, is that on the form?
Yes. That's what this form is. The other thing I need to make sure to ask you, please, on this form, down here, please be very specific on the sections of the student teacher's names and their certification area. Obviously, put your to and from and how many miles it was, but please list the student teacher and what they're, if they're English, or if they're history, or if they're math, or if they're elementary, whatever they are. Please put their name and certification. And that just helps us keep track of all the students and, you know, we don't track your mileage necessarily, but that way we know if somebody's submitting something that's not even a student teacher, it came to the wrong office. Because Carol doesn't necessarily know all the supervisor names, and so she could get a travel expense form in the mail that was from another department for something totally different, and she wouldn't know that. But if she sees the student teacher name in the certification area, she knows exactly what it's for. Okay?
What do you use to figure out mileage? What program do you use?
This form.
I know, but you Google Maps or what?
Oh, Google. Well, financial services does that. We never know. Every semester that could change. Sometimes it's MapQuest, sometimes it's Google Maps. Right now it's Google Maps. But if whatever they use. So you may use MapQuest and put it's 46 miles. And if they use Google Maps and it's 42 miles, they'll pay you 42 miles.
Right.
So it could be a few dollars different than what you actually submitted, and that could be why. It's never a large difference at all. But they have changed in all the time I've been here. They have changed a few times on what they use. So right now it's Google Maps. Any other questions about the travel expense form? Oh, sorry. Okay, the next one is parking on the university property. We just put that in there. This is just a direct copy and paste from the parking website, from the parking office website. Just so you know, if you ever have to be on campus for something, you can buy a permit for $2.50. I didn't know if everybody knew that or not, but this is just information. If you need a parking permit for just one day, you can get one for $2.50. Any questions about anything I've talked about? Okay, we're doing great on time. So I'm going to turn it over to Candace, and Candace is actually going to talk to you about the multi-PA and fees. So any questions you have about that, you'll direct those to her later. Candace?
about the MEAS, the Missouri Educator Evaluation System, and the MOPTA. So first I want to welcome all of you back. I see a lot of familiar faces here, some from Kansas City and St. Louis that I talked to on the phone, but I don't get to see, so hello. A lot of faculty that I didn't see, sorry about that.
That's all I needed. That's all I needed.
You can't use your iPad.
Can you tell we're going to do an opener? No, there's going to be something that goes off with the technology work. We don't know what we're seeing. Okay, so anyway, welcome back. Welcome to faculty here also at Missouri State. And if we have any the others, like in the show off, others, if we have any others, welcome. All right, so my purpose is to refresh the MEAS, Missouri Educator Evaluation System. Some of you have gone to year 1 training, some of you have gone to year 2. So I'm supposed to refresh that, and then I'm supposed to give you the updates from the MOPTA. How many of you are brand new and you're going, what is this? Okay, so I'm going to tell you how that's going to work. I'm going to do the MEAS and the MOPTA, and then if you're new, and you want a little more information, we're going to let everybody else go home and eat, and you get to spend the night here with me. So we will go through what you need to know. And it may take the night. All right, so that's the agenda. Way back, I think, was it 2 years ago, Dan, when we started on all this? Dan's your buddy. 2 years? 3 years.
Yeah.
We've been at this for a while, and you know the change is coming down. I mean, we are the guinea pigs. We're getting it, we're putting it out there, and we are doing our best to accommodate DESE, and they're really trying. They really are trying, and the educational testing. So we have been dealing with a lot of change. So you're going to go back in your schools, supervising your future candidates coming up. And they're going to see change as well. They may see change from when they were elementary or secondary students. You're going to see changes from last year. Things change. And so we have to be resilient as best we can. So DESE has come up with more changes. We're going, okay. And they've come up, with the MEAS, the Model Evaluation System. And there's just a couple of changes there that's going on. And on that continuum for the Missouri teacher, we're trying to see how does the Missouri teacher already hired fit in with our teacher candidates. Is there a seamless transition? How does that go? All right, and then they give you an Educator Growth Toolbox online that gives more information, more PowerPoint, whatever. And, the problem is we don't have time to read all this. Maybe we really want to. We have good intentions, but we don't always do it. So I'm going to try to give you a little bit of a, how do I say this? I love it. Maybe I should say Snapchat. Snapchat. That's what it is. All right, so the educational testing system is the system that the MOPTA, the Missouri Pre-Service Teacher Assessment, goes through. And there's pages that the students go through. You've seen all this before. So you are up to here with all this stuff and all this change. So take a minute, just a minute, and ask yourself, how are you feeling? How are you feeling about all this stuff? Maybe good, maybe bad. All right, so I'm going to show you some slides on how you're feeling. And your task, this is MOPTA task number 5. You are going to pick how you are feeling, and then I'm going to have you share that feeling with your neighbor, who may be somebody you know, and it may be somebody that you wouldn't know. So if my technology works, here we go. Because I'm
Like some kind of madness was taking control.
I hope that you found one of those that fits how you're feeling. So take a minute to share with your neighbor, how are you feeling about all this? You need to know. First, we're going to do the Missouri Educator Evaluation System. And from last year, this is the same. DESE wants statewide consistency across the board. Everybody's supposed to use the rubrics and the forms. But this time, we're going to deepen a little bit of the understanding of what it means to score a 1 versus a 2. That's a little bit different, or more emphasis is on that. And then the meaningful and descriptive feedback, because it's the feedback that helps the students progress further on the continuum. So that's our learning outcomes for today. So how are we going to ensure that we are growing and developing the best teachers that we can do? That is our driving question. All right, DESE went out and they canvassed the state on the strengths, on the weaknesses, opportunities, and the threats of this system. And so they assessed the model, and so that's where these few little updates came. They made the changes because they were listening to the teacher candidates, cooperating teachers, elementary and middle school and secondary supervisors, all SPED, everybody. They took all this information in, and then they decided what the changes were going to be this year. Are we happy with all that they did a lot? No, we wish there were more. But we have what we have. And so we take what we have, and then next year there will be some more. All right, so our goal is to make our candidates classroom ready for 21st century skills. That's what we all want. So from last year, it was agreed that there needed to be statewide consistency. That was the roadmap to increase teacher confidence. All right, they needed to be evaluated with the same tools, quality teaching, consistent practice, let's replicate it over and over, let's use everything the same, and that descriptive feedback was very important. And those of you that are researchers, John Hattie, that's one of his things, and maximum potential gain, he says, is up to 35% if we can give really good feedback to our candidates, and that's what was learned. And so, as you know, Desi came up with the forms that we're gonna all use, and Kim shared those with you. And with the forms, there are 9 standards. There are 36 indicators, but for teacher candidates, you're only dealing with 16. 16 of the indicators, and there are 4 of them. They call them the non-negotiables. I call them the final 4, and I call the 16 the sweet 16. So there's the final 4. That's what they're asking you to try to get principals to evaluate if possible. All right, so you have in the packet I gave you this roadmap with this template. And this shows you the 9 standards in green, all 36 indicators. But in blue, these are the ones that the teacher candidate is going to be evaluated on. And then there are the non-negotiables, the final 4. So student engagement is very important, differentiation, classroom management, and assessment. Those are what Desi is saying are the main ones to be evaluated, to be concentrated on. All right, I put in the PowerPoint, which Kim is going to post on the website. Okay, I wrote out the URLs. That's where you can get forms. Kim's got forms. Hers are at this URL right here. And Desi has forms here. But Kim told you when you click on hers, it's going to take you straight up here. So there are multiple ways for you to get the forms that you need to evaluate candidates. All right, so what are you going to find? You're going to find a protocol handbook. You're going to find a performance rubric, a formative assessment form, an optional formative assessment observation form, the administrator form with the 4 non-negotiables on it, and the summative. The summative and the formative are the same when you would do at 8 weeks, when you do at 15 or 16. But those are the materials that you are going to find online. All right, here is a page, the first page of the rubric. All right, how many remember the 33 pages of the rubric from last year? Remember that? Okay, 33, and if you're watching and you're wading through 33 pages, that was quite a burden. It was 33, now Desi has it down to 21. So the one that's online is 21 pages. Well, I'm a little anal, those of you that know me know, oh yeah, she is. I looked at that thing and I thought, there's spaces there that don't need to be there. We've started on here and then we've got this gap, their page break is not quite where it should be. So, I have retyped it and it is in 16 pages and I believe Kim is going to put that on the website. So you can have the entire rubric in 16 pages. And because there's 16 indicators, guess what? Each one is separate on a page. That's some anal stuff there going on. Okay, so that will be made available to you. Then I thought, well, let's go a step further. When we're out in the classroom, we want to look at the observables. I want to know what is the 0 and what is the 1 and the 2 and the 3. So I cut off all that top stuff. And so, whoops, sorry. Now you have also a copy of the observables. And guess what? That's 8¼ pages. So we've gone from 33 down to 8¼. Now you can get the whole thing with the 16, but if you're going out in the school and say you're looking at student engagement right there, you can quickly now look through these observables to try to find where they are on 8¼ pages instead of the original 33. So I hope that will help everybody out. All right, teacher candidates are on a 0 to 3 scale. And the transition is knowing the information to applying and doing it. That's what this growth vital is. So where are the teacher candidates on the scale right now? Oh dear, they're a 0. All right, 0 means they have received the knowledge. But you're saying, no, I already know my students. I already know they're not a 0. They can already do some of the stuff. Desi's hoping, as of right now, they're at a 0. All right, I have interns, it's full year, and what I've done is I've come up with something that will take them to the 0 so that they can be a 0. So I always tease them about them being -0s. And we thought about getting a t-shirt, I'm a negative zero, but we haven't done that yet. But anyway, we're all on the same continuum. So 0 is your baseline. When you get them, they are supposed to be at the 0. We hope that they're there. Probably some of them are going to be higher than that. All right, then we're going to have emerging 1. I'm going to go through what that means. Emerging 2, and then a 3 is the highest that they can earn, and it's developing. The attention that the MEAS trainer for this year wants us to know is to really emphasize the difference between the 1 and the 2, and I will go there here in a minute. All right, so to the 0, baseline. The teacher candidate has the knowledge. Okay, what does that mean? Well, I like analogies, so here we go. We have a driver's license book, and I'm 15 and a half. And I'm so excited that I'm going to get to drive, and I have to learn this book so that I can pass my written test, and then I'll be able to, start driving. And so what that means is the car is sitting in the driveway because I can't drive it yet until I pass the written test. All right, so a 0 is I've got the information, I am passing the written test, but I have not been able to apply all that information out on the road yet. That is a 0. A 1. The teacher candidate has the knowledge and is attempting to influence what that teacher candidate knows in the classroom. She is trying to change it. All right? It may work today and it may totally not work tomorrow. And so she'll try something else. She'll come to you and say, help me, I'm my management, I'm having trouble. All right? Oh, that worked for me, yay. So she's good today, but then tomorrow, maybe not so good. So there we are, driver's ed. All right, we're driving the car, and oops, I forgot the signal. Oh, which way is it? Oh, I went down, and it's supposed to be up on my signal. They're learning, and they get it, and sometimes they don't get it. Think about parallel parking. Do they do it consistently? Probably not. They're struggling with parallel parking, and that is a 1. All right, that's emerging 1. As they move along, they get better at it. They get a little more consistent, it's more effective, and they're beginning to influence student behavior the way they want it to go, and things are good. Life is good. And so, when it's good like that, that is a 2. But what Desi is asking us is, what is the difference between a 1 and a 2? What was that word? Consistency. It's consistency. A 1 is inconsistent. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. A 2 is consistent. I can do this, and I'm doing it well. I'm doing it well. So here we are. We passed the driving part of the driver's test, and my mom won't let me take anybody else in the car with me yet. She doesn't trust me. But I can do this. I know how to drive. And I can take myself to high school. My mom doesn't have to drive me anymore, and I can get myself around, go shopping, and do things. That is a 2. I'm good to go. Wait a minute, there's still another one to go. So what's that going to be? All right, so this one is when it's almost innate. Whatever it is innate. They just get it. They can prevent misbehavior. They can manage student engagement. They understand assessment, and they make that impact on students. They get it, and they don't even have to think about it. So then we're looking at Danica Factor. She can drive, and believe me, she doesn't think about it. Oh, I have to put the signal up like that. She doesn't have to think about it. She just knows. It's innate. So you may not have a student who is a 3 on everything. They may be 2s on everything, but a few things over here may be a 3, maybe there's a 1. All right? So you may not have a 3 on everything. So when you go back to the observables, how are you going to know? That's where you start comparing the 0, the 1, the 2, and the 3. There was a work group, I was not part of it, that redid the rubric on the possible observables this year. So they've changed. You need to have the newest copy. They have changed. And to me, when I look at it, they're trying to make it go across a little better. I don't know if you remember last year, those of you that have done this before, you'd read the 0 column, and then there'd be something in the 3 column, and you say, well, this one works, and so does this one, and you're kind of not sure where to go with it. They've tried to get it a little more consistent across. Whether it's perfect, probably not, because we're not perfect. All right, so that's where that comes in. And this is a form that if you're looking at a certain standard, you can go in and type on the form, if you choose, here's the standards, for standard 1, there's 2 indicators, content, knowledge, academic language, and engagement. And you can type in what you think that student is doing at that time. So there is a typable form. Now, some of you may say, I'd rather do anecdotal records. Some of you may say, I'd rather do a paper copy of something. And some of you may take your Surface tablet or your iPad in and you may type in a form. So you are given one. All right, now I'm going to share what I do. I'm not mandating this. I'm just sharing how I do this because for me, I think this is easy. You may not think that, but I'm going to share. So I have my teacher candidates pick 3 or 4 of the Sweet 16. This is observation number 1. They go in and pick 3 or 4, and I go in and watch the lesson. You look at all 16, but I'm focusing on the 3 or 4 that they chose. So on the possible observables, I pick a dry highlighter, and I'm saying dry because the wet ones bleed through it. I pick a dry highlighter color for observation 1, and I may designate on the form what was observed. Then I go in and I type the summary. On that form, the summary comments is what I thought. Observation 1, using the language of the rubric, I will type what I saw. Observation 2, the student picks an additional 3 or 4 or can go back and repeat some of the ones that are already there. I use a different color highlighter on my rubric and I highlight that. Where is that student at that point? And then I type the summary comment. So it looks like that. By the time I do 4 observations, I'll start with the yellow highlighter, and then I may go to a green, and then a blue, and then a pink, and I'm tracking where that teacher candidate started and where I'm seeing it now. So then, once I get that, and color doesn't matter, I go into this form that Kim's going to post. This was up last year, but I didn't see it this year, but I like this.
It's the optional one, it's the optional form.
Okay. And so I like this one, so I'll go in and I will rate whatever it is and write in my comments, and it looks like that. So then, when I come to the 8-week mark and I have to go into task stream, I'm going to this right here. What did I rate? Okay, I rated it a 2.5. Now, what is task stream? They probably have a 2 and a 3. They may not have a 2.5. So then I look at it and I think, well, that may be more a 2. It's consistent, but we won't go to the 3 yet. Maybe that'll be later on. But when I talk to the student, I'll say, you're a little better than a 2. All right, so here's the thing that Desi's saying on the 1 and the 2. They would look at this right now and say, you can't do that because how do you know that it's consistent? Because remember, a 2 is consistent. I've only observed 1 time. How do I know it's consistent? So maybe I would change that back to a 1. Or I know that student. I've seen that student in practicum, and I know it's consistent. Or that the department teacher tells me, oh, I know that student too, and I've been watching her every day now for 4 weeks, whatever it is, and yeah, she knows that. So to me, it's a judgment call. But Desi wants you to understand that a 1 is inconsistent, and do you really know if it's consistent if you've only observed 1 time?
So you're viewing it as over the course of time rather than within that lesson.
We're talking about the lesson may have been great, but could you rate it a 2 because you've only seen them once? So for me, on this particular student, my job's a little different now, and I pop in a lot, so I could see her management outside, and I could see that she was a 2. But that's what I'm warning you from the DESI side. This is what they said to us in the trainer. Be very careful if you're going in for the first time, you know, even if they were great, how do you know it's consistent? Okay, that's where you get into that feedback. And also, the other thing I will tell you about, it's really hard to give them a 2 and then have to go back to a 1. You almost want to take it, you know, a little bit more slowly. But you're going to get some that are awesome right from the start. And they just are. So you have, it's a judgment call, what you're going to do. I'm just supposed to call attention to the fact that a 1 is inconsistent and you really know if it's a 2 at that time.
Did you say that you wait until you block it and actually to write this up, or do you write it?
I write it as I go.
Okay, okay, so you're really.
Jermaine is asking, do I write this up at the end of the semester or when I'm observing? And I did this, there's the dates. There's my observation dates. I wrote it up as I went along. Now I picked management here. This particular candidate is an awesome manager of kids. That's one of her biggest strengths. Okay, but I pop in a lot. I just don't go out for one time. So I was able to do that, and I can pretend that. These are the sharing. Yes, I send this electronically to the student. Of course, you have your conversation, but I send it to the CT and the student each time I go out, and then each time, of course, we're adding another block. Because the first time is just the first one. So that's how I do it. I'm not mandating it. I'm just kind of telling you how it flows for me. And then when I have to go in for Travis Marler, I can just go right here and see what I did at the midterm. You know, but look at now right here, she went down. Guess what happened? She slumped off a little bit on the end there.
Maybe it was.
Yeah, that's right. All right, the feedback. The teacher candidate receives feedback throughout the experience. Each of the 16 quality indicators has to be addressed. You might not see them all. You might not see them all, so what's going to happen there? Let's say every time you go, you know, maybe your teacher candidate doesn't pick them all. Or you just are not seeing some of these. You're not seeing assessment data. Okay, that could happen. All right, so what we were told was anecdotal records that either you or the cooperating teacher or even the teacher candidate might take, self-reflection, starts to build evidence. They may have a portfolio themselves. Now, you're going to have numerical ratings. You may have anecdotal records from the cooperating teacher. You're going to have informal conversations with the cooperating teacher, and you're going to have conversations with the teacher candidate. So you're going to be hearing about some of the other indicators, even though you might not have specifically observed them, but that you've got to rate them. What are you going to do?
So we actually have our student teachers go through the old binders so that their CT rounds, we use the optional CT weekly observation evaluation, so that our university supervisors can see those when they walk in and they get the pre-observation worksheet, and that it's all there in that binder, so they can see those other observations.
Okay, Jermaine is saying that
Not that all the students have to do it with them, but
her
that's
candidates have a binder where they keep the things that they've done and the weekly formatives that the CT fills out, they keep it in that binder so when she goes out to observe, she can look back and she can see some of the evidence because it's about the evidence. It's not just about, oh, she's a 2. Where's that evidence? Okay, so in and of itself, you may not get every single one of those indicators. And that's why Jessie has asked that we have the students keep a little portfolio of evidence. Maybe they can keep some of that evidence. They know that they've never chosen academic language, the very first one. And you might have seen some content knowledge, but maybe that academic language, they really haven't focused on it. And so how do you really know that to get a 3, the students have to be articulating that academic language? How do you know it's happening? You never saw it. Well, maybe they can get some evidence. Maybe they'll have a video clip. Maybe whatever it is to get at that first one. Students can match evidence with the indicators themselves, and it will lend themselves to the big component, which is self-reflection. That's where they learn. That's self-reflective piece is so important. So by having some evidence themselves, they know you haven't seen it, maybe they can collect it, you have a conversation, maybe they think through it, and then they decide, oh, maybe I really did do that. Maybe I need to work on it. That self-reflective piece. Okay, so here's what ends up happening a lot of the times. How many of your master teachers rate them a 3 because that's an A? And rate them a 2 because that's a B? And rate them a 3. That is not what this is. It is a growth model. You can have a candidate that does very well consistently and has all 2s and still get an A in student teaching. They're just not all straight 3s. They're not Danica Patrick across the board. I don't feel like I could go in and teach a class of second graders and be Danica Patrick across the board every single time. That's hard to do. You know, and so that has to be communicated, that it is not A, B, C, D based on those ratings. All right, here is the crucial factor right here, and it is feedback. They are going to get feedback from multiple sources. They are going to get feedback from you when you observe. They're going to get feedback from the cooperating teachers on the weeklies or whatever you set up. They are going to get feedback if the building administrator will observe them, and that's usually towards the end. But it's that feedback that has to be meaningful and descriptive. Good job tells Jermaine nothing. It tells them nothing, tells that person nothing. You know, oh, I feel good, huh, good job, what am I good at? You know, it's not specific enough. All right, so, does the teacher candidate also get feedback from the students? Let's take a moment, talk to your neighbor. Does the teacher candidate get feedback from their students, and is it meaningful? Take a minute. Sure.
Policies in the back, if they're aware, they engage in what's going on. That's part of what it is. Oh, definitely. That's definitely.
All right, do I have a volunteer? I always say my students, do I have a volunteer? And everybody goes, you know, there's an app for your phone. You can put their names in and go ding, 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 click, and it says, Keith! Keith, what do you think?
We thought definitely, you know, there's always ways you're looking for the feedback from them, just in their expressions, their responses. As you're doing assessment and your instruction, you should be getting feedback. You know, the questions that were asked, if they couldn't respond, and you'd know right then you're going to have to reteach, or maybe they've had enough and you need to stop and, you know, refocus and do more.
Missouri State has taught our students, we hope, to be reflective decision makers. You know, you want them to reflect back on the lesson. When we talk to them after an observation, we always say, how do you think that, what did it feel like for you? What did it sound like? What did it look like? What did it feel like? And so they start to give you feedback, and we guide that feedback. And, you know, they learn from that feedback, and they learn from that discussion with you, the experts. What about you? Dan, what about you? You're different. It's music. So
yeah, they're getting feedback, or they should be getting feedback all the time.
right. And so, you know, you hope that they're looking at that feedback in an honest, reflective way. All right, so they're getting feedback. All right, I'm going to share, and I gave you a handout, but I'm going to share a book with you. This is the Art of the Teacher, the field guide, and there's a chapter in here on feedback. Now, remember that educator rope toolkit thing that I showed you that has all this stuff? Okay, well, I copied for you a handout that I could do. It's online, it's downloadable, and it's in your packet on feedback. We don't have time here today to go through every single one of those things. But it talks about the specificity of giving them feedback that is specific to what they did and then the results. Because you did this, here's what happened. It gives you that, and they give you a 5-second one, they give you different levels of that feedback if you have time to read through it. And so it really helps the candidate because it's all about the feedback that you give them. It's called 7 Tools. There's 30 seconds, 5 minutes, reflective planning piece, positive reinforcement coaching. Anybody have cognitive coaching here? Gone through cognitive coaching because that really fits in the same thing with this. There. Instructional coaching, small group coaching, and then so if you have time, you want to glance through it. It's got some good stuff, and it's not 99 pages. All right, now here's something else that I use that I'm sharing. I took the Sweet 16 and I did an Excel worksheet, and I put those Sweet 16 right in here. And then I have a 7-8 week and around a week 15. And I did it because in steps, to see what the cooperating teacher scored, you remember what you had to do? Scroll all the way to the top, and then you see it across the top, and your student was number 153, and you scrolled all the way to the bottom, and you said, that too. What did it go to? And you scrolled all the way up to the top, to try to get the feedback. I understand TaskStream is going to be so much better. You're going to be able to look at that feedback. But because I was in steps and I haven't been in TaskStream yet, I came up with this. It's very easy for your share this with Okay. It's very easy for my cooperating teachers to put their scores in here and then just go transfer them to steps. All right, and so then I had it, and there's the 8 weeks, and then all on one page, here's our SPA, and then there's the diversity proficiencies. So the programs are different. I don't know how many extra indicators you have, like in music or art, for your SPAs. I don't know what you have. This is the elementary one, and so I pass this out. And I'm in a different program now. I have year-long interns, and so I have teachers and residents that kind of do my old job. And so what I do, I have another form that's the same thing, but I have on here different columns so they can put it in at different points throughout the year. And so there it is on one sheet, and you can track it. So anyway, I have this form available elementary-wise. My elementary supervisors get it. For the rest of your programs, it's not that hard to fix. You put in your own SPA and put the diversity would be the same, so is the top part. You just be putting in if you have specific to program indicators. It just helps to have that copy. And you can do that on the thing. Just sharing. All right, so back to the driving question. Take a moment. What do you do to grow and develop teachers? What do you do best? So here's the time to toot your horn, talk to your neighbor. What do you feel like you do best when you supervise your teachers, your teacher candidates? What's your What do you do best? Do I have a volunteer? Linda?
Meaningful and descriptive feedback.
All right, meaningful and descriptive feedback. So you have good conversation with your teacher.
Yes, what else is there?
Very good. What else is there? Excellent. Yes, ma'am.
I think the other piece to that, and that's the first one, is the relationship piece that we build and that support, and the experience that we all bring, that we've been there, we've done this, I was a principal too, so I've seen lots of students do it. So that experience that we bring in that.
I love it. I love that you said that because, okay, she said the relationship experience and the experience that you bring to it. And that's because if you're giving feedback with no relationship there, what happens? They may not take it well. You know, it's all about relationships. I'm going to brag on Pat Malavich here. She's a Garfield person, and when she was the principal, her whole office was filled with Garfield. And don't you know that those kids that came to visit her in that office with that Garfield, it generated conversation, and when it generated conversation, it started to build that relationship. Very, very important. That feedback is great, but if you don't have that relationship, that feedback may go without. You just might. So, feedback. Another one, anybody else? Anybody want to be picked on? Jermaine?
Typically help them walk through possibilities or potentials for how they would readdress some things that they need to fix rather than just telling them that they need to fix them. You know, let's visualize. I always tell them like 50% of teaching is performance art, so you really do have to plan and kind of anticipate how your audience is going to.
So the what ifs.
Yeah,
Right,
all
sure.
that engagement part, like helping them walk through it and visualize how to do it.
All right, so Jermaine is saying that helping them to see and walk through and giving them those what ifs. What if this had happened? What would happen with this? And having those conversations again. Very good. Does anyone else want to add? We could probably go around, but we won't. All right. Well, here's what you need to understand. You deserve a huge thank you for what you do, and you don't hear it enough. You don't hear enough how vital your job is. Because your job, to those students, they look at you as the expert, and when you can help them see and have them reflect and have it come out of their head, because that's what you do, and that enlightened moment when they figure out what went on and what they could have done differently or what they did well, you are helping them see this. And that is just something that, it's not a tell. I mean, helping them become enlightened as to the performance that they did is huge. And you deserve that thank you for your expertise in doing this. So thank you very much for that. So moving forward, here's my question. This is what I'm thinking about, and I brought it up at Leadership Council this morning. Should we be taking the observables and putting them into a sequence of instructional flow instead of 16 silos? Because right now, they are 16 silos. Engagement, curriculum, management, transition, differentiation, diverse learner. I mean, they're all boom. Are the students seeing how they relate to the flow of a lesson? I don't know if they are. But here's something you can do. Take out your map. Let's do this for a second. Take out your map and look at the 316. Talk to your neighbors. Do you really need 16? Do any of them overlap? Yeah. Look at this one and look at the 16. Do you see anything there that can overlap with school engagement? See what you can get them down to. Okay. Here? All right, is there anything that we can group together? Myrna, I'm gonna call on Myrna, my friend Myrna. Is there anything you can group together?
Yes, lots of things that group together or
All right,
just.
let's get it right back.
There are a lot of things at least that
What
are,
would you, what might be something, there's no right or wrong answer, what would you group?
well, there's a lot of things that certainly influence each other. You know, like the pacing, it's talking about time and transition. If that's not the way it should be, then you're gonna have discipline problems.
Right, and then you probably have engagement problems.
Yes.
So you'd probably have standard 1, 2, engagement, and then that was 5, 2, transitions and
Yes.
pacing, all that. 5, 2, and 1, 2 maybe could be grouped together. Anybody else have another one? See anything else that might could be grouped together?
Concept knowledge.
Content, knowledge, and curriculum. How should we group that together? Could you take all those 3 assessment ones? That kind of be a grouping. So what I'm saying is if you could get it down to where you could see it in those chunks, and then take that to the lesson so the students can see the flow of the 16 through that lesson, I'm thinking it would be more meaningful. We're not there yet. I don't know where Desi's going, but I would hope that it could be much more of a flow where these students could see how it all connects. Because right now, student engagement, pick that, okay, other engagement or not, okay, assessments over here, blah, blah, blah. So I'd like to see it more with the connection. All right, so I'm hoping that's where we move forward to, but we'll see. Because it's all about continuous improvement. The other thing that is going to lead us into multi-TA here in a minute is, do your students use the data to drive instruction? Do they use their formatives to drive the instruction of the next lesson? That's something that I don't always see. You know, hopefully maybe you see it. But that's just something that I'm thinking would be another thing to work on. All right, so that drives us into MOPTA. For those of you that are new, there are 4 tasks. The first one is a task about learning about your students in your district, in your classroom. It's the contextual information, the resources in the school, you know, what are you dealing with? That's what task 1 is. Task 2 is getting data and using that data to inform instruction. Task 3 is a lesson, designing that lesson. And then the 4th is kind of the whole thing. It's just implementation, analyzing instruction. So for new supervisors, those are the 4 tasks. You have 2 choices, video or non-video. Some of the programs here, how many are using video? Dan uses video, I know. Some are using video and the rest are using non-video. And for us so far, it's been a program decision, yes.
Can you ask who they are? Because we were wondering about that in St. Louis, which departments are doing video. When we asked our students, they didn't know. I mean, I guess they'll know Monday, but which departments are you?
All right, those of you doing music is? Go ahead.
Science.
Science.
It's up to the school, but science is fine.
Kinesiology.
English if the school allows.
English if the school allows. Family and consumer science.
Speech and theater, school,
Speech theater. See, I know elementary last year chose, and that's a huge, elementary's huge, we're doing non-video, but there's so many, all my schools will allow video. So, you know, but we did it as a program, that may change this year. I don't know.
I thought that was a district decision.
Well, that's why elementary chose non-video, because we have some students in districts that do not allow it. So we went whole program non-video.
Well, I don't understand the department, because I thought it was Texas.
It is, but, okay, but like for instance, let's just say, I don't know, Dan, but they're music. Music has students here, there, and everywhere, and they may say, if you're in this district, you do non-video, and if you're in this district, you do video. For elementary program, we're all non-video, whether it's allowed or not. So that's kind of where we are. Because the tasks are different.
Kind of an answer to your question too, the students should know by the time, by Monday or something, they have to know which one to register for. And so they will check with their program to know which one is the best way.
All right. The state board is aware that we need high standards, but they're also aware of a teacher shortage. So I'm going to share with you the qualifying score, cut score is a 37. It is a 61.666666. So 62% pass. The score is the same, non-video and video, and it is effective August 29th. So they have to have a 37 out of 60. Does everybody know how to get to the 60? Do I need to go over that?
I have no idea what you're talking
Well,
about.
they won't, because they don't score it at all. They don't see 2, 3, and 4 scores.
They never seen from ETS?
Students just have to tell you.
Well, and your students, my students email me their scores. Do you see them? All right, let's just do this. All right, in task 2, there are 3 steps. The most you can get is a 4, so 4 3s are 12. Task 3 is 4 steps, and the most you can get is a 4, so that's 16. So 16 and 12. Task 4 is 4 steps, times 4 is 16, it's double weighted, that's 32. So those 3 together give you 60 points. You have to have a 37 out of 60 this year. All right, and there's some changes. But first, let me show you this data. This is DESI. This came from DESI. There it is right there. Panel-based score, 37. Here's your standard deviations, or they call them standard error measurements away. Video, non-video ended up with the same score.
And this is for the state or from Missouri State?
State. This is statewide.
And it's on DESI, you said?
Yeah, this is DESI.
You can
DESI
retrieve,
data.
retrieve that?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. All right, here we go. Panel-based score, 37. This is the video. This shows you what the scores were with the standard error method, measure, sorry, right there. And then here's non-video, same thing. That's what they told us. So here it is by program. Here's your different programs. Passing score is 37. So here's the passing, what the rates were last year. And here's your resubmissions. So there, that resubmission is pretty high. So that's the data from DESI. Yes, I don't know if I can answer your
You can, you just said it, but I didn't catch that.
How many points is task 2, task 3, and task 4?
All right, task 2 has 3 steps. Candidates can get as many as 4 points per step, so that's 12. 4 times 3. Task 3 has 4 steps. They could get a 4, and that would be 16. Task 4 has 4 steps, video or non-video. So they could get 16, except it's double weighted, so it's 32. And that totals 60. Yes.
Those last 2 slides, we passed pretty fast, but if I caught the numbers, wasn't the percentage of students scoring in 82, that's an 82 on non-video, go back to the other one, and only 76.
That's
So
because of the
why would
total.
we want to encourage our students to do video if less of them are passing?
Yeah. I don't know if I can answer your question.
Okay,
It's the districts that allow or don't allow. So then the programs get that information and they may decide that the whole early childhood has to be
passing
this.
rate is higher for non-video.
All right, here's what we're waiting for. Coming out this fall, we're going to find out, we're doing a study on whether the non-video can is as rigorous, say, as the video. In other words, it's the equal measure, we don't know yet. They're not the same, they don't measure the same thing. It's totally different. Totally different. All right, so here's what the updates are. I was part of a work group of 10 people, and the 10 of us went up to Columbia, Jeff City, to work with the MOPTA, and I will tell you that we rewrote the whole thing. Now I'm going to tell you where the changes are. Okay. There's a new handbook. It is posted on the ETS website. It has quick reference documents in it, individual links for each task, so that's nice. You read something, there's a link. Additional links for written commentary and artifacts. And so that is new. There was no change to the task one handbook. So just know when you go on the site, you do want to download the regular handbook. It's new. Timing. Tasks 2 and 3, they're going to give the candidates an extra week and a half from last fall to complete them. So it's an extra week and a half. And then for task 4, they're going to get over 2 weeks. So it's 2 weeks and 2 days. So they're going to get extra time to complete. And you know as well as I do, they're there to student teach, and they've got this burden on them, you know, and it gets burdensome. The more they're teaching in the classroom, the less time they have. And so we deal with it. All right, so they're going to give them a little extra more time. That is a change. If you've noticed, the submission timing has changed. Why is that? It is because when it was due last year at 10:59 and they had a tech issue, there was nobody to help them. So now they're going to the next day to 1 o'clock. So if they submit, you still want them to submit the night before because they'll be in school the next day. But if they're having an issue, they can call and get tech support to get it up there. You have to tell your students the bandwidth must be really narrow because it takes forever to upload the stuff. You know, the people say, oh, I can just get it uploaded, you know, 10 minutes, I'll get it, make the time. How long you should know. They have to get it up there because that bandwidth is not wide. And if they're uploading a video, they're got tons of time to upload that video. So, yeah, they really should, because if they're all uploading that morning, that's right, they should be in class. But you might have learned too that right. My preference is to get it in the week before. All right, so it's 1 o'clock. You'll see it on the very last page of your handout I gave you. It's 1 o'clock now. They are going to hold firm on the submissions. So the philosophy is, during the first year, ETS did work with candidates and programs with some latitude to adjust some deadlines. They do understand ice storms. They do understand, you know, I had a baby. You know, they do understand some things, okay? But they really want to try to hold firm to the submission deadline. We ask that they still allow extenuating circumstances. That work group asked for extenuating circumstances, and they said yes, if they have to contact ETS and DESE immediately. So that means that if you have, and you're the one who's going to really judge, are they, they're a procrastinator, they do this on every single assignment or something, or do they really have a problem? Okay, and they will work with them. So that was the message there on submission day. They're going to redo the permission slips, but I went on last night and they're not done yet. The permission slips that are up there are from July the 15th. They are the old ones, but the revisions are supposed to be coming. They're going to add language for the destruction of the videos.
Candace, some of our kids have been in the classroom for 2 weeks and I sent out their permission.
Oh, so am I. I know.
So this year they're going to take them.
Okay, the question was, Lisa said the question was, her kids have been out in the classroom already for 2 weeks and they've already sent the permission slips. And so they're sending the older ones, okay, and then the new ones are not out yet. They're not out yet.
So they need to accept those because that's what's
Oh,
on the
yeah, they'll
website.
accept, it's the wording on the, to cover themselves on the video, to where it's gonna be
So it's
destroyed.
ETS that's not staying on the wall.
Well, it's just slow. I have no idea. They just said the permission slips were gonna be revised, and that's all I know. Oh, yeah, the question was, will the non-video permission slip change? I don't know that answer. All I heard was what I put up there, is that there's going to be revisions. Okay, on the permission slip. So I guess when they come out, we'll see what they say. You know, I don't, that's all we can do. Let's see what they say. The other thing they're gonna address is when they decide that Karen did an exemplary job. Thank you, Karen, your tasks were great. And they wanna use Karen's tasks in the library of examples. They are going to deal with Karen and make sure everything is okay, that they can post whatever it is that she wrote. So they're gonna have a way to address individually the candidate's work and the permissions to allow that to be seen by everybody. That's what we hear, and we'll have to wait and see. Some of the things that are going to be implemented that aren't yet, they're gonna segment the support materials by task now instead of all in 1 month. They're going to expand the terminology in the glossary and provide more targeted information to the candidates. That's what we hear, but they're not changing the tasks. We rewrote the tasks, they're not going to change them. The reason is, they want more data. If they change them now, and then they get more data the second year, and then they would have to go back to the original, they don't want that to happen. So they're not gonna change the tasks. So your tasks this year are the same as last year. You still use those same documents, and if you look on those tasks, it'll say 2015 copyright. So you'll know that it's that same exact one. ETS wants more data. They don't wanna make a change, that would make them roll back, but they are saying that there may be changes the following year, and we'll have to wait and see. But the tasks are the same. When the work group met, I'm going to show you here in a minute, not yet, but I'm going to show you some of the recommendations that we have. All right, the other thing is the issue of academic integrity. We had a lot of students plagiarize. Now, whether we would call it plagiarism or not, I'm not going there. But ETS caught it. They have software that they scan every single submission that goes through, and then they tag it if they think there's a plagiarism issue. Right, no, this is overall a lot, not MSU, sorry. Overall a lot, over the 2,000 candidates, a lot.
So are those students notified if?
Okay, I get there, yeah, students are notified. All right, so here is where ETS is saying, look, it was here. In the MOPTA handbook from last year, the work must be yours, that you did unique video. I agree to comply, my own, not to share responses, that I completed, and had all this last year. By checking this box, I'll comply, my own, not to share, I completed, video, non-video. All right, and they had plagiarism issues. The new submission language is gonna say must be distinctly your own. Software is used to scan, all right? And the paragraphs or even selections of the paragraphs that are substantially similar will be construed as overlap. And let me tell you what they taught. You know how we teach our students to repeat the question?
Oh, no.
Get tagged. So if they repeated every single question, and then put their response in, and I don't know if they had enough characters to do that, that's my question. But all that duplication is triggered. All right, so then what happens is after it triggers, ETS looks at it and they contact the candidate. We don't get contacted. So unless your student tells you they've been contacted, you will not know. All right? So that your student, tell your student, if you get contacted, let me help you, I need to see, let's look at your tasks, because it may be nothing, it could be repeating the question, right? If they went to a library of examples and repeated some of the library of examples, that's gonna get immediately tagged.
What if they picked up a phrase or information from a previous student?
You'll tag. And I don't know the percentage, Margaret. I don't know how much of a percentage will be tagged. In other words, is it 20% of the submission, 10%? That I don't know. Do you know?
No, it would be her first.
Okay, she asked if it would be tagged by a phrase from what another student submitted. Okay, let me tell you what my problem is. I have so many students. I have 9 teacher candidates in one school. And on the contextual factors, for instance, it's the same information. Why should each one of them go do it? Why can't they do that together? And so that's where, if it got tagged, that's where the candidate and ETS, maybe it can be explained. All right? So, but if your student does not tell you that they've heard from them and they get a certified letter, it's a certified letter from ETS. Desi does not hear. It's between ETS and the candidate. Your student needs to tell you, I got a certified letter, and help them look through it, because it may, you know, it's like, it might be a false positive. You know, like, so it could be a false positive, so we want to help those students. Yes.
There's not a possibility of us getting a software, like I know we've used Turnitin along with university, something they can use, we have fun.
I have no idea if it's being.
Because a lot of the language is gonna be the same.
All right, the question was, does MSU have or will it get software to check these?
I don't know the answer to that. I'm guessing it would be no, because technically you're not even supposed to see these. I was gonna clarify that in a minute for our video people, and I will. But we know you're gonna look at these and help the students, that's what we do. But technically, according to ETS, nobody, none of you are supposed to coach or help or see or anything. So my answer would probably be no, probably not.
Let me talk you to, Dan and I had this conversation 3 years ago, because the handbook's the same. Did you see it? The handbook is the same. Part of it makes you think you can coach and ask questions and all this, and then all of a sudden it says, no. You know, and a page later, no, you can't do it. I don't know. We ask questions, we don't tell them.
Well, I know we had this conversation a couple of years ago, and I backed off a lot of what I did the first year. I mean, the first year I did a lot of coaching, but I really backed off and tried to, and what I do is a lot of teaching about the directions and talking about general pedagogical concepts in seminar that will transfer, but I don't look at their individual tasks.
And what I do.
For 2, 3, and 4.
Okay, he's saying that he backed off. That first year did a lot of coaching, and so now he's backed off some on what he's doing with the 3 tasks that are summative are 2, 3, and 4. I will tell you what I do. I nail them on task 1. I'm an ogre on task 1 and use it as a teaching tool, and I make them fix. It's formative. We fix and we talk about it, we fix, and why is this better? And then I don't worry about 2, 3, and 4 because they get it in their head. It's learning how to write it. They have to learn how to write what ETS wants. And there's a certain way to write it and hit on it. More is not necessarily better. You know, you have to answer the question. Back it up with that evidence. Describe it, analyze it, back it up with that evidence. And that's what they're looking for. And so I really work task 1. I really do. And, you know, they say, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're being so hard on me. Yeah, I am, because it's going to help you. And you're going to do well on 2, 3, and 4. Because that's what they want. But anyway, back to the plagiarism issue. You will not hear unless your student tells you. If it gets resolved, it goes away. If it doesn't, the university and DESE gets notified. I think we had 6. And I don't know how that ended up. They still might have explained it. You know, I just don't know. saying we send students to the same placements over and over, and so when the students write the prompts, that it might look like that they have plagiarized or copied what was said prior to, I don't know. When you have so many in a building, and let's say on the same grade level, okay, so there are 4 of us on 4th grade, and we're going to do a math lesson, and everybody stays on the same math lesson, and so we're all doing the same math lesson, and we're encouraged to collaborate, and then we get hit. So I tell my students, do not write the prompts with your buddy. Your lesson might be the same, the plan might be the same, you'll tweak it, but do not write the prompts with a buddy. That's what I tell them. Because then they'll get tagged, and then here we go. And it could be totally innocent. And so, but they still go through that. They're thinking licensure. I want to be a teacher, licensure. So it's just, what it is. All right. So there's a series of 20 to 30-minute webinars that's going to be coming out. So that's the list of the webinars that ETS is going to provide for the students, but they're not out yet. And I guess what we'll do, we'll hear about them, and hopefully in time. But they're not out yet. It's just coming this fall. Don't forget, New England goes to school a little later than we do. They start way later. I'm from up there, and we used to start after Labor Day, especially later in June. But so they're kind of behind getting all this done for us, but they eventually will. All right, here is what the work group recommended. This has not happened, but this is what we recommended. The ands and the ors. There are so many and, and the student has to address every single one of those pieces and this. And that is, and makes it, I mean, if they do it right, your response is going to be huge. And we said, make it an or, don't make it an and. So that was one of the things we recommended. We suggested reducing the number of focus students, at least maybe on one task. Because especially task 4 non-video, if you're in task 4 non-video, you're doing all this work and you're doing it over again for a whole other focus student. It's 55 prompts. Task 4 non-video is 55 prompts. And repetitive. We have that. You might like this one. Fix the portal. They said they might do this. Fix the portal so you can see 2 at once. Instead of 7 rows, you'll see 8. So when you see student Lisa over here and you only see task 1, 2, and 3, and then you have to go to the next page to see task 4, you can see all of Lisa and all of Pat on the same screen. 4 and 4 instead of 4 and 3. So you don't see the same student on the same screen. I don't know how many, if that bothered anybody, but it used to bother me. Okay, I'm almost done. All right, fix it so the names are not listed by alphabetical order by the first name. Fix it so it's by the last name. They said they might do that. And then, of course, we asked that they reduce the number of tasks. We thought task 1 and 2 and 4 video would go together, adding a lesson plan to task 2 task 2 data. And then do 1 and 3 and 4, and on 4, add summative data to task 4 to get that baseline comparison and get it down to 3 tasks instead of 4. Okay. I don't know if that's going to happen. All candidates have to do task 1. If you're elementary, task 3 must be math. If you are elementary, task 2 has to be in language. So numeracy and literacy, those are the 2. And so I'm going to show you what I do. I combine 2. And here's how I do it. I take task 2 for elementary is list. You have to get baseline data, teach the lesson, get post data, compare, contrast, correct? So what if my lesson was not just a day? What if my lesson took more than 1 day? There's task 4. Just track it. All you gotta do is track it, and there's the score. So my students do this instead. It's like a little mini unit. We have a big lesson, but we do pieces of the lesson. But they teach you many lessons anyway, right? We have a little assessment after each need this, you need it for task 2. But there is a prompt in task 4 non-video that asks about the posting data. So task 2 and 4 becomes the same, and then you have to address the prompts for both tasks. But this is what I
I just want to say, you're not elementary, 2 and 3 together might fit better.
Okay, good.
Mostly because of the deadline, because if you're only doing this in 16 weeks instead of a whole year, having all this to do so early is a cost. So,
Okay.
so but 2 and 3 fit well together when you don't have to do the math literacy separation.
All right, she is saying 2 and 3 fit better when you don't have to do the math and the literacy separation, and that's okay if you're secondary. Now, for us, I never do task 2 first. I always do 3. 1 and 3, 2 and 4. And that's where your programs come in. So I'm not mandating, I'm just telling you kind of this is what works for me to help the students because they're burdened. They are burdened by this. And so we're doing our best to try to help them. So that's kind of a picture. That's what I do. All right. So the passing score, that was a 37. Here's another one. They no longer have to get a 1 on each step. So mathematicians in the room, figure this out. If you only need a 37, and you no longer need to get a 1 on each step, what does that do? What if you got all 4s on task 4? You have 32 right there, and all you need would be a few more points. So they can really bomb a task and still survive.
But what was, why would they get a 4 they could not even do that?
They, you can't get a 0, but if you got a 0, it's because they did it in Lincoln Artifact. If you don't Lincoln Artifact, you're going to get a 0. But if you write a horrible prompt or a horrible step, you're going to get a 1. And so they don't have time to finish task 2. They've done a great job on task 3. They don't do so well on task 2, so they get 4 1s or 3 1s on task 2. That's 3 points. But they do well on the others. That could work. But now they're telling us you can. They told us you could get a 0 on task and still pass. Last year you could not. Right. You couldn't give it 0. Some things in the box. There was no zeros. A black box.
Even if they cheated, you knew they cheated.
Right. That's right. There's something in the box. So this is what's different. So you could have a low score on one task and a high score on another, and your student can pass.
Do you know if you have to turn in permission slips for all samples or just for the focus students?
Just the focus students, the letter. If you do a letter for task 1, you have to turn that one in. Even though 1 doesn't go in, you put that one in. Your focus students. Any work sample.
Any work turned in.
But you don't have to put them all in for every student. Just whatever work sample, those are the student permission slips that go in.
So is that new this year? Because last year I got all of the permission slips.
Mixed information last year.
Can you say that again?
Yes. Okay, the question is about the permission slips. Last year, most of us did, because you tell the students, get all the permission slips, because you don't know today what 2 students you're going to pick in 4 months for task 4. So get the permission slips, but the only ones required to be put in are the ones whose student samples you post and you use.
That's even on the video component?
On the video component, if the student's in the video, it would have to have a permission slip. When in doubt, post the permission slips.
Okay, let's pause here for just a minute so that Larry can change that.
Okay. Send it to everybody.
You said this PowerPoint is on there too?
It's going to be. Okay, it will. It'll be on the whole, the video is of everything, so it'll be on there. And then you'll be able to view the PowerPoint.
And we get here how?
I'll send you a link.
Okay. And how do we get the, oh, you're gonna send us the link?
I'll send every supervisor a link.
For the PowerPoint and the video?
No, well, both. The PowerPoint will be on the video. Okay, we're ready to go? Any other questions?
Okay. Previously, we're told that you're collecting data on a student, you must have a permission slip if they
told us this year. As long as it's only work samples. So it's the work samples. So if you're using these two focus students, their permission slip has to be posted. But you have to encourage your students to do all permission slips, because you can think, I'm going to use this person's permission slip. They get moved to Georgia, and that's the student you were going to use, and you have to use another one, and you don't have a permission slip. So you really do want to try to get them all, and then you post whatever you're using, whatever work sample data you're using, that's what you post. Okay. I don't know if I can answer or try to. Anybody else? Any? All right. Here's a takeaway. Can't make a straight line unless you can connect 2 points. When all you've got is a starting place and no destination, you're left with just a dot. So, you know, you need to give students information about where they're going. They need to see how they're going to get to what we're asking them to do. And, you know, you're going to have questions, and you're going to think, I already told them that. They didn't read my handout, or they didn't whatever. I know. But you're going to find that. And you got into the handout, or you got into the information. But the more information they have, they'll do a good job, and then they won't, you know, come at you more on 2, 3, and 4 if you really, really train at 1. Question?
If they're gonna change the tests for 2017, 2018,
Maybe.
are they gonna change the cut scores too?
I would imagine they'll take more data. They may. Okay, the question was, if they're going to make some changes to the tasks themselves next year, 2017-18, are they going to change the cut score? I don't have the answer to that. I would imagine they're going to look at data again and decide if they're going to adjust. I don't know what they're going to do. But your job is to teach, encourage, instruct, mentor, praise, influence, guide, and inspire your students. And you're going to be going out into the schools yourself, and you are going to be out there, and you are going to be seeing what's out there. And so now, on an ending note, I want you to think back when you were in school, because I want to tap into one of your memories. Don't leave after this. I have something else to say, so don't go crazy. All right.
One of the big things these days in schools are smelly pencils and smelly markers. They're called Sminsels and Smarkers. I've designed a line of Smarkers for teachers, or really anybody who's gone to school. They will bring back some memories for you, and so I'm just introducing my Smarkers. This one is Taco Tuesday. Smells just like canned taco meat, Taco Tuesday. We have junior high hallway. Smells like Axe deodorant spray. They spray all over themselves because they don't take showers very often. This is wet puppy, also known as coming in from recess time. This is Fish Stick Friday. It smells just like the delicious fish sticks they serve on Friday. This is one that everybody will love. Vintage paste. It tastes just like that paste that you used to smell all the time people used to eat because it smells so good. Here's Play-Doh. Everybody knows what that smells like. Here's one that's really good too. Burnt popcorn. It smells like the microwave and the teacher's lounge is burnt popcorn. We got lead pencil. And here's one of my favorites too. All teachers will relate to this. This is smoky backpack. It smells just like a smoky backpack from home. Here's the last one. Hot lemonade. It smells like burning plastic. I hope you'll run out today and get yourself a set of Smarkers.
Thank you all very much. Those of us that are old enough, I told Candace that they should have had one about the mimeograph. That was the best smell ever. Okay, 2 things I just want to clarify, and a lot of this is for our supervisors who are watching the video who are not here. One thing we talked about earlier about the timesheets or the time records. Every single supervisor doesn't have to do that. It's mostly the per course supervisors.
If you're faculty at MSU, obviously you don't do that. We have other supervisors like Dr. Gail Fly. She's supervisor for us in Rolla. She works for Drury. She doesn't have to turn in a timesheet. So if you are required to turn in a timesheet, somebody will notify you. If you had to turn one in last semester, you have to do it again. If you didn't, you probably won't. If you're new, we'll let you know. So that's not for everybody, so I didn't want you to get freaked out about that. The other thing is, on this whole no PTA thing, again, you all know what it is, most of you, but our video people may not. So I just want to clarify with everybody, this is not a lot of work you have to do. This is just to make you aware of what the students are having to do. Most of you, part of you as supervisors will grade task 1. Part of the programs have their program coordinator grade task 1. Part of the programs have their instructor of record grade task 1. But if you're supposed to, you will know it. But task 2, 3, and 4, like I said, you're really not supposed to have anything to do with that. You are just there to support the students. And we wanted to give you all this information so you know what the student is having to do. And when they ask you a question, at least you know what they're talking about or where to send it. And so that's what that information was for. I didn't want anybody to get all worked up because you think you have to do a lot of work on the MOPTA, because you do not. Okay? I think that's it. Does anybody have any questions about anything we've talked about? Like I said, I'll go ahead and send the video link to everybody so you'll have it to look back on for reference. And if you have any other questions anytime throughout the semester, obviously you can call our office, Travis, Candace, whoever you want to get a hold of, we'll help you get a hold of them, okay? Thank you guys. We do really appreciate every one of you and everything you do. Thank you for coming.